Wayne Rooney has had an absolutely incredible career for Manchester United. He has easily delivered the £27 million outlay or whatever it was for him back in 2004, I think. Is that right? I'm not sure. Anyway, guys, what was his absolute best, most brilliant moment in a Manchester United shirt? That is what we're here to talk about. We're going to discuss the most expensive forward we've ever bought from Everton, Wayne Rooney. Currently. So I have got Paul, I've got John, and I've got Statman Dave. So we're going to use these cards to decide who can go first, because it would be super boring if they all repeat the same thing. So we each have to pick a different sort of memory or moment or Wayne Rooney-esque thing. So I'll fan these cards out, and then I'll just pick one. John, you happy with me to pick this one?
Sounds good.
Yeah, okay, so I'll take this one. So each of you guess a card. The closest gets to go first. Go.
8.
Okay.
4.
3.
Oh, Dave!
Oh.
It's a 5, in case you can't see. It's a 5. Okay, Dave, please tell us your number one, absolutely most brilliantest Wayne Rooney superb moment in a Manchester United shirt.
Well, I think I'm going to take you back to 2008-2009 in the Champions League away against Arsenal. I think that moment where United broke Park Ji-sung, Cristiano Ronaldo and Wayne Rooney, a brilliant bit of interchange in passing, Park Ji-sung to Ronaldo, Ronaldo to Rooney, and then Rooney receiving it in the box and then back to Ronaldo goal time. That was just the moment that defined Wayne Rooney's career at Manchester United. Not the main man, but supporting one of the best goal scorers we've ever had at Old Trafford. But it defined him in more than just one way, his ability to accelerate, to get ahead of the play from left wing. Playing in a position that isn't his natural position. That was Wayne Rooney. He'd play wherever that Ferguson needed him. He was a tactical weapon and a very, very good tactical weapon. And for me in 2008-2009, it was one of the best United teams I've ever seen, and I think any United team has ever seen. And Wayne Rooney was a massive part of that, tenacious, disciplined. That season in the Champions League, he had the joint most assists with Ryan Giggs for United. And obviously they went on to the final and lost to Barcelona without a few players in the final. But it was that Wayne Rooney that I really liked, that tenacity, that aggression, that pace, that ability to explode. And I think that season, 2008-2009, with Cristiano Ronaldo, with Park Ji-sung, for me, defined Wayne Rooney as a footballer at Manchester United.
Nice. I think we all enjoyed that particular moment in history. Now, John and Paul, would you like to join in this conversation and say why perhaps, although that was a special moment, without giving away what your moment will be, it might not have been Wayne Rooney's best? Not to criticise Wayne Rooney, he's done lovely things.
John, fire away.
Yeah. So as much as I enjoyed that little thing about Wayne Rooney potentially being the support man alongside Cristiano Ronaldo, I think that sort of became somewhat of a realization factor for Wayne Rooney in some ways. And little disclaimer before I even go on. A lot of people on YouTube and a lot of people on Twitter, all I've seen is Wayne Rooney a legend? Is Wayne Rooney great? Despite that conversation aside, I think Wayne Rooney's sort of contribution towards Manchester United changed after the departure of Cristiano Ronaldo. And once he sort of diminished his supporting role and sort of taking on that main role, I never really felt the Wayne Rooney to become that sort of elite. And while Wayne Rooney in his career, in his peak, has been an elite player many times for Manchester United, I felt like post Ronaldo and post the years past Sir Alex Ferguson, it didn't really seem too clean. And I think that was sort of, if anything, the counter-attacking play sort of epitomized Manchester United at the time. Clinical, scary as hell to play against. That sort of strength sort of was on the decline post Ronaldo, post Ferguson. And I think that sort of epitomized Wayne Rooney in a nutshell, if there is anything to get at it from that situation.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Go on, Paul.
Well, it's interesting. I think John's touching on something that was going to be my key counter-argument to Dave winning this debate, which at this point is all I care about in the world. But the thing about that is, from a United perspective, that goal is, without question, one of the great moments of the 21st century, right? It was electric. That whole game, thinking about it, makes hair stand up on the back of your neck, because I think we hadn't quite got how much better we were than Arsenal by that point. I don't think many of us went into that semi-final expecting us to kind of like easily blow them away.
And we did. We just hit a collective gear that was beautiful to watch. And absolutely, Rooney was an essential cog in that. But it's tinged with sadness because Wayne Rooney, the player he was when he arrived, and that player that made his debut against Fenerbahce, the kid that had scored the hat-trick against Croatia, I think, in Euro 2004, that kid was never supposed to grow up to be anybody's support act. So I can't have that as like Rooney's, the best moment of Rooney's career, because there's a little hint of the thing that was not quite about that goal.
Just for the sake of conversation, because obviously John mentioned post-Ronaldo years and perhaps decline, but in the post-Ronaldo years, Manchester United played Arsenal. Wayne Rooney scored a hat-trick in an 8-2 victory.
That they did.
I think you got to look at what it was, though. I think for me that was the best United side I've ever seen, and I think taking Wayne Rooney as a component, that and a key component, his relationship with Tevez and Ronaldo, they were the best front three in the whole world at that point. They were absolutely incredible. I don't think whether he was a support act, I think it was more of a three. They were together, they played together, they interchanged positions, they complemented each other. And I think that one moment just defined Wayne Rooney at United, being able to be, being with Ronaldo and being Tevez, being more than the sum of their parts. You think of how they pressed from the front with Tevez, Rooney, and then Ronaldo would take a little bit more of a, relaxing approach to that. But it was Wayne Rooney there on that left wing that really made him as a player at Manchester United, that really got him to that, being into the conversation of the Ballon d'Or. And especially that moment in 2008, 2009 season was fantastic. And I really think that for me is Wayne Rooney. And that's how I'm going to remember Wayne Rooney. Aggressive, bustling and brilliant on the counter-attack.
Makes sense.
It's a solid argument, Dave.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's particularly upset about it. So, let's move on, shall we? Let's see who goes second. I'm getting out the cards again. John and Paul, it's all down to you. I've picked this card. Guesses, please.
You get first pick on the number this time.
10.
Paul?
8.
Oh,
9.
I almost thought you said ace, which it is. So ace is a high, so the 10 wins. John Shin, the best Wayne Rooney moment.
It's been a while since I've been on these. And I have to say, I'm always last for some damn reason. So in my mind, when I was sitting there this morning, what do I go for? And I'm going to stick with it. My best Wayne Rooney moment had to be on January 21st, 2017, 90th minute, 1-0 to Stoke, looking like hell. Wayne Rooney lines up the free kick, winds it up top right corner, and he picks up the ball, emotions running wild in the weirdest of ways possible. And we somehow managed to salvage a 1-1 draw, a 1-1 draw, and the game's over. Wayne Rooney goes for the interview. The interviewer is asking him, Wayne Rooney, this is your 250th goal. You finally surpassed Sir Bobby Charlton's record. How do you feel? And he's just, obviously they've been running they've been exploding their lungs, just running like up and down that pitch up until the 90th minute. So he's panting, but you can tell the emotions running wild with him. And he mentions, to sort of quote what he said, might be paraphrasing a little bit, but he was basically saying, this is the greatest honor of my life. And it just sucks that it has to have been celebrated that way. And as a fan sitting there watching that game was extremely emotional in the sense that it sort of epitomized the pinnacle, the entire story, the entire Wayne Rooney story at Manchester United, And I'm not trying to say post-Ronaldo, Wayne Rooney went on decline. I mean, past Ronaldo's years, he's had 2 or 3 good years at Manchester United, scoring goals, great goals, and becoming a crucial figure in the squad. But it's been hindered. It's been, I don't want to say clouded, but it's had its moments of negative press. It's had its moments of negative aspects. And, whilst all that sort of drama might have, created this sort of this gap in, is Wayne Rooney considered a Manchester United legend? Is Wayne Rooney considered a Manchester United great because, he requested a transfer, he wanted to go to City, he wants to go to Chelsea, wherever. I think that sort of goal and the way he sort of celebrated that really made me feel like, wow, what a story Wayne Rooney's had at Manchester United. Whether or not it might be a positive outlook or a negative outlook, for me it was positive just because Wayne Rooney's been through a lot. And I think that also has to come down to his maturity. I think throughout the years he's realized that, Manchester United was the only option for him. I mean, him going to City wasn't going to do much. Him going to Chelsea wasn't going to do much. I remember at one point he was linked with Bayern Munich. He wasn't going to do much at Bayern Munich either. It was Wayne Rooney and Manchester United all over, and it was that goal, that sort of celebration, and that post-match interview that sort of summed up Wayne Rooney for me.
Paul's pulling faces, so I'm going to let Paul jump in.
No, I'm just pulling faces at that he wouldn't have done anything at City, Chelsea or Bayern Munich. I think that is beautifully red-tinted spectacles there, John. Also, like, my key counter-argument to this not being the greatest moment is you weren't there, man. You don't know how cold it was that day, how bad that football match was. Honestly, in all my life, I've rarely been as cold as I was that January day. So, like, Rooney's scraped to draw, fine, and it was good that he broke the record. That was obviously a lovely moment or whatever, and it was nice to be there. But yeah, it's hard for me to have anything after 2011 as Rooney's greatest moment in a United shirt, because this isn't to say that because of what happened in 2011 with the attempt to move to City, that ruins him as a United legend or whatever. It doesn't. That's it. But it does affect things. It doesn't ruin them, but it does affect them. So, like, in a way, I quite like that choice, John, from a perspective of pathos, because, you know, there was a degree of sadness to that moment, which sums up that aspect of Rooney, where here we have, you know, it's the Rooney paradox. Here is a man who, by any reasonable analysis, lived up to his potential. He's his club and country's all-time leading goal scorer. There's only one person that can have either of those, and he's got them both. He won trophy after trophy after trophy after trophy. And yet, did he really become the player he could have become? This is a question that I don't know if we can know the answer to, and I like your choice for its hint of sadness. But I don't think it was the greatest moment of Rooney in a United shirt, because for both Rooney and the club, there was nothing really at stake other than an arbitrary record.
Yeah, that he was ultimately kind of, I mean, he wasn't given, he had to score the goals, but it's not like he's, you know, smashed through it. The last year he's just been at the club by default almost. Dave, would you like to join in?
Yeah, I think that, again, it's more, that wasn't the moment that defined Rooney. That defined the end of his career in a way. You know, that 250th goal, yeah, he's done now. He can be moved on. I think that was a big milestone for him. You know, getting there, you know, brilliant. At United, he scored over 10 goals in each of the seasons, apart from that last season. So, in fact, that defines the decline of Wayne Rooney. That defines the end of it. Defines a Wayne Rooney that, in a way, was ruined by Louis van Gaal. That his passing used to be so explosive, used to be so, the tempo used to change. And Rooney could have moved to central midfield. He could have done that. But I feel Louis van Gaal's boring possession-based football drilled that into Rooney. And unfortunately, that killed him as a player. Yeah, you can argue Sir Alex Ferguson moved him around. But at the end of Ferguson's career at United, he was actually using him in a 4-4-2 diamond at the tip. He was trying to evolve this United team to be a possession-based passing styling. A lot of central midfielders in there, where the European game was going. But I feel like Louis van Gaal ruined Rooney towards the back end of his career, ruined his career in central midfield, and that was the end of the career, was that 250th goal. So for me, it's not a moment that defines Wayne Rooney's career. It defines the end of a great career at a great football club. But that season, not really good enough for Rooney. And, you know, there's no surprise that Wayne Rooney will be leaving United in the summer. But he's been a fantastic servant. And I think that's what, got to echo what Paul's saying. He is a fantastic player and has been brilliant for United. But I just think that moment is more sad than a happy, joyous occasion where you've just smashed Arsenal in the Champions League.
I think to touch on what Paul said earlier, for the sake of joining in this conversation and discussing different aspects of Wayne Rooney's career at Manchester United, he is perhaps the only player, like, completely unique in the fact that he has never, ever been anything in anybody's eyes but overrated or underrated. Nobody has ever adequately accepted his ability for what it is. Like, we can now have this conversation, say in the early years, maybe he was underrated. As he got older, perhaps he became overrated. Like, it's never been okay to say that's Wayne Rooney's level. And perhaps he's suffered to some extent from playing and developing at the same time as Cristiano Ronaldo, who's gone on to become this ridiculous stat-breaking phenomenon. And it's not Wayne Rooney's fault that he couldn't do that. But then you can say, well, he hasn't looked after himself in the same way. And it becomes criticisms that perhaps wouldn't exist if that hadn't happened.
I'd also argue as well that when Wayne Rooney was really leading United from about 09 to 11, when he was scoring goals, was playing as the main centre forward in a 4-3-3, and he was absolutely brilliant. Think of that 09-010 season. We should have got to that Champions League final if Daniel Van Boyten hadn't taken Wayne Rooney out that second leg. Raphael might not have been sent off, and United would have won that game. They were dominant when Rooney was on the pitch, but it was that ankle injury that cost Rooney there. Quite interesting though, Ronaldo, his last season at United, had a similar ankle injury. So maybe it is that sort of how he was looking out of after his body and so forth. But it's a difficult thing looking back without having the knowledge of, was Ronaldo playing through the pain barrier? Was Rooney playing through the pain barrier? But I think it was that injury that cost him from being, going from that one level of being Wayne Rooney, where he's absolutely brilliant, to getting on sort of the same terms as Messi and Ronaldo, was that season where he got injured, because he was brilliant that year, absolutely fantastic. So I think injury as well needs to be recognised as a reason why Rooney didn't get to the top. But whether that is his own, looking after his body, I don't know.
Was it from the internet? Go on, Paul.
Sorry. See, I think that is a more apt description of what ruined Rooney's career than Louis van Gaal, because I think, he had one massive goal-scoring season in 11-12 when we didn't win the league after that, but he did not play that well in 11-12.
He had two. He had another one where he got 34, so the 34 was I'm saying that he had by the time the 9-10 season where he scored a ton of goals, he was electric that season. Like, he stepped into the void left by Ronaldo and was absolutely magnificent. And like you say, that Champions League game, it was a sliding doors moment, wasn't it? If Rooney didn't get injured, everything looks different. But the next time, when he did it again, when he scored a ton of goals again, it was with nowhere near the same kind of panache. It was much more kind of functional goal scoring, and that was the exception to the rule after that injury. It was a steady decline from then, because I think one of the key arguments against the idea that Van Gaal ruined Rooney was that Ferguson really did try and engineer him out of the door. Mm-hmm. I think that the way that all went down at the end, whether it was Fergie kind of taking revenge for what had happened in 2011, serving it cold a couple of years later, I actually don't think that summer and that debacle really counts as a knock against Rooney in the same way that the 2011 thing does in terms of his relationship with the club, because I actually think that was Fergie trying to offer David Moyes a kind of softball of like, listen, you need him out of here if you want to rebuild. And we've seen, like, Rooney had a talk about overrated, underrated, like the extent to which his season under Moyes was overrated, 14 league goals, but nowhere near the level of performance he was assigned in the media and by Moyes in particular. He basically hasn't had a good season since then.
Okay, right, now we're going to see a quick advert. Some of you will, some of you won't. I hope you enjoyed it. Maybe buy that thing, maybe don't. Paul, you're left by default. Please tell us your absolutely favourite crowning Wayne Rooney moment, then we'll debate it to see which one is best.
So I'm going to take you back to, I guess there'll be people watching this that don't even really remember this happening, which is terrifying for me because I was a very fully grown adult by this time. I'm going to take you back to 2005. I think it was March, but I could be wrong. It was a game against Newcastle United at Old Trafford. And even though you might not remember this goal, I bet you've seen it because it's one of the best goals ever scored in the Premier League. It's one of the best goals ever scored at Old Trafford. It's my favourite Rooney goal over the overhead kick because it encapsulated who Rooney was at that time. So if you watch it again, I think he'd just been booked, or definitely a decision had just gone against him, and he's arguing with the ref, and he's kind of nosing at him as they both run from the centre circle. Like the ref and Rooney are both in the centre circle. The ball goes into the Newcastle box. I think it's Craig Ramage who headers it away, and it's a looping header that loops to about the 35-yard mark. And Rooney lines up and hits it with the fury of 1,000 suns and the technique of a football genius. And the ball goes in. Rooney goes mad. He's like having this like really happy celebration. And then Rio Ferdinand whispers something to him. And then Rooney goes like this, and he like celebrates with anger. And so I was sat in what is now the Sir Alex stand, almost exactly level with where Rooney hit the ball. But live, I hadn't spotted that it was a volley. I thought he'd hit it off the ground like that. And Ed, my podcast co-host, who I was sitting next to at the time, said he's just scored a goal made out of anger, and it was he'd channeled all that anger and all that aggression, all that kind of amazing combination of silk and steel, the wild bull in a china shop that could kind of harness all of that raw power into football brilliance. That's the Wayne Rooney I'll never, ever, ever forget as long as I live. It was, as a teenager and a young adult, there was just nothing like watching Rooney. He wasn't as good as Messi. He was better than Ronaldo then, although obviously Ronaldo overtook him. But he was as magic as anyone that's ever played the game. There was, you know, there's a kind of running gag in England almost that as a country, they tend to invest in like talisman after talisman. And it sort of stopped happening really because the football teams got so rubbish. But like he was the country's hope. When he got that injury in 2010, I had to be at an event that night. And I was with lots of people who weren't United fans. And they were all absolutely fuming because that was England's World Cup ruined again. Rooney was the hope of an entire nation at that point, and that goal summed the whole thing up.
Go on, try and argue against that.
Well, I think the thing with that is that was the young Wayne Rooney. That was a Rooney that was hungry, that was aggressive, that used to get wound up, that used to be able to pull these moments out. But that Wayne Rooney slowly disappeared, and we saw a Rooney that was a little bit less angry, wouldn't shout at referees.
Actually, you say that, I'm going to interrupt because he did that this season. I can't remember when it was. It might have been the Europa League. I can't remember when it was for the life of me. But we scored and Rooney still turned and had a go at the referee because he was annoyed about something moments before. So that fire does still live inside him and we do still see it. It's just perhaps because he's got older, as people do, you calm down more.
It didn't translate
Everybody
into goals
does.
like now.
No, I'm not saying it didn't. but he still had that. You do still see him argue over nothing because he still cares. But he's an older man, so he's a bit calmer.
Yeah, I think it's just it almost makes me sad knowing what Wayne Rooney was and then how aggressive he was and how explosive he was. He used to be able to take like 3 or 4 players on. You know, we haven't seen that for years. And I just feel that
Cup final 2016.
Yeah, but then again, that's one moment again out of like 5 seasons. You know, you think of probably post Ferguson, you think of that clip ball that he played to Van Persie that was an unbelievable pass, but the moment slowed down. So I don't know if that's the greatest representation of what Wayne Rooney is and what Wayne Rooney did.
But Dave, this is not a debate about the most encapsulating Wayne Rooney moment, because otherwise we'd all be saying the 2011 transfer deal, because that's the thing that defined his whole late period United career. This is Wayne Rooney's Manchester United career highlight. That's what we're trying to find here, and at a moment of pure footballing brilliance, it seems like a very fitting one.
A good moment, but I think on the European stage, there's other moments that for me would take over, being against Newcastle in the Premier League in a game that, you know, United didn't really need to win because we were pretty good back then, would be the other
I'm afraid, Dave, you've made a terrible error there. In fact, that's a key part of why this goal was so important, because between like 2002 and 2005-06, we were not that good. And actually, this was about rebuilding United. This was about, oh my goodness, are we going to be back? That, by the way, in those days, 2 seasons without winning the league felt like a complete disaster. These were the Jemba years. Like, we were far from assured of glory at that point. That's one of the reasons why that goal was so beautiful.
I also, just for the sake of other moments, his performance in the 7-1 win against Roma, brilliant. His run, I spoke about a minute ago, in the dying moments of the FA Cup final, still the last United player to score in a Champions League final, the winner in the League Cup final. Like, he's done loads of good things.
Yeah, the AC Milan goal.
I love that goal. I don't know why. It always sticks in my head. It's something brilliant, like dying moments. It's so United.
I've been putting together an article for Bleacher Report for if and when Rooney
does
go. Yeah, you're in it, Sam. Where I've asked a bunch of people what their favourite moment and favourite Rooney goal was, and that AC Milan goal came up a lot. the other thing that came up over and over again, which I think speaks to some of the stuff we've been talking to here, was that for a lot of people, their favourite Rooney game, not goal, but game, was his debut. Like, this was picked by probably 4 out of the 9 people. Right, yes, Sam, in fact, you specifically said everyone's going to choose this, and not quite everyone, but a lot of people did. And how amazing is it that a player who broke the club's goal-scoring record, who scored like so many amazing goals in amazing games and was a key component of United at their best ever period, people are saying his debut was their favourite memory. That's fascinating to me, and it speaks to the duality that Rooney presents us as fans.
Okay, so we're at that point now where we have to decide who presented the best debate for this. Oh, we've also got some comments. Ruddy hell, guys. Oh, no, we haven't got comments. We're doing it. This is a timer. I thought it might have comments on it, but it doesn't. We don't care what you think.
That timer seemed to just say no. Is that right?
That was a joke, by the way. It was a joke when I said we don't care what you think. That was a little joke. It's just a bit complicated to get it all in today. Just a little joke. Yeah, that's not the time. That's because it's a stopwatch. So, Dave, you went first. 30 seconds to argue why Wayne Rooney's support role in a wonderful FA Cup semi-final, Champions League semi-final against Arsenal was Wayne Rooney's highlight. Go.
I think it defines Wayne Rooney as a player, as a character on the counter-attack, supporting the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo, aided by Park Ji-sung. That explosion, that ability to break from one box to the other box as an attacker, playing on the left wing, getting the assist for that goal, absolutely crucial. But that also defines the season before, when United did lift the Champions League against Chelsea in Moscow. Rooney played the same role that season and was fantastic. And that's, for me, why it defines Wayne Rooney as a player and at Manchester United.
Nice. You've got 2 seconds.
He's also scored loads of goals that season.
Good. John Shin, go.
To be honest, I thought I was going to go last, so I thought I was expecting all these great moments, and I wanted to sort of be the guy to wrap up his career. But nevertheless, I'm going to stick with my fact that this choice is going to be the defining moment in Wayne Rooney's career, good or bad, sad or happy, whatever it is. Wayne Rooney was the one that one player that I think, as the years go by and once he leaves Manchester United, all these things that's happened over the years under Wayne Rooney at Manchester United is going to be remembered.
30 seconds, John. I'm afraid we'll have to stop the sentence. Jesus, it seems unfair,
Christ.
Especially as there's no reason to have a time limit, but we've got one. So stop talking.
I spent too much time talking nonsense.
You spent 15 seconds telling us you were sure you were going to lose a random selection.
Oh, why'd I do that? Oh my God.
Paul, go.
I'm an idiot.
That goal is one of the purest moments of joy I've ever experienced watching football. It encapsulated maybe the first 5 years of Rooney's Man United career into one distilled, beautiful moment. It was a crucial goal in a crucial game. And just watch it again and see what it does to the hairs on the back of your neck.
So I now have the luxury of getting to pick the winner of this debate. So I try to do these things completely impartial, listening to what's been said. And in my opinion, the best arguments were made by Paul. So Paul wins. In my biased, not impartial opinion, I 100% agree with everything Paul said. So Paul wins doubly, because that is also my Wayne Rooney highlight, and for all the exact same reasons Paul gave, except the one of sitting on the halfway line, because that's not where I was. I was like 15
Wait a minute,
or something.
So you communicated before that we shot this, and you told Paul your favourite moment, and Paul used that moment. There's a conspiracy there, Sam.
That's a very good point. Yeah, well, it worked. It worked. No, it's just absolutely incredible. So Wayne Rooney, what a guy. Should we do some closing thoughts? Chris, should we do some closing thoughts? Yeah, we'll do some closing thoughts. Guys, closing thoughts. How do we think Wayne Rooney will be remembered once he's left Manchester United and the dust has settled on what have been a few years of frustration for some and disappointment for others, where he started gloriously and has won everything he's entered with Manchester United? We're going the same order, so Dave.
I think it would be remembered as a great Manchester United player. I think he's up there with other fantastic United players, with strikers, the tenacity, the work. It just encapsulates Manchester United. I think that's why the fans got on his side so early on, is because he would pressurise people. It's a simple thing now. We see pressing every single day of the week, but back then it wasn't much of a trend with Tevez, with Rooney. United used to lead from the front and pressurise teams from the off, and that's the Rooney that I think we need to remember. Not this ageing Rooney that that hits these passes that are too square, that are too short, that aren't at the right tempo. It's this Rooney of yesteryear, that was so explosive, that was so, like Paul and like you're saying yourself, is that did explode, that was, you know, a little ball of energy, and bang, he'd do something absolutely incredible, something that Messi would do.
Nice, Dave.
And
We're going to move on. We're going to do this nice and quick. Yeah, I enjoyed it though, but you were babbling. John.
I think once, like I just mentioned, I think once he leaves, we're all going to be remembering Wayne Rooney for the contributions he made for the better of Manchester United. Obviously, there's many decisions that's been, you know, happening at Manchester United with Wayne Rooney that wasn't the greatest of things, but I think all in all, Manchester United fans will remember Wayne Rooney for the great things, the contributions, the goals, the excitement, the anger, the frustration, the strength, the just raw energy. I think that's what Manchester United fans will always remember him for.
Nice. Paul.
Yeah, I mean, I think what will happen is that the sepia tone of nostalgia will wipe away some of the less enjoyable stuff. But actually, I think it's fine if we as a collective go, one of the best players ever to play for Man United, unquestionably, did loads of extraordinary things at the club. Also, tried to engineer a move away in 2011, which, by the way, wasn't a particularly unreasonable thing for him to do, but it was a thing that happened. Ferguson tried to kind of eke him out of the club as he left. Those are things that happened. His decline has been really substantial. He's had, I mean, I honestly don't think he's had 5 good games in the last 3 seasons. Not good 90 minutes. He's had really good moments, but I don't think he's put in 5 good 90 minutes in the last 3 years. But none of that matters because he will always be a United legend. All of our legends have aspects of their personal characters or even their relationship with the club, which call into question a kind of pure, perfect memory of them, because that's not what humans are like. We're a mixed bunch. We have good and bad aspects to our character and our behaviours.
Well, you might.
Apart from Sam.
Paul sounds pretty dodgy to me. Guys, we're going to have to wrap that up there. Thank you so much for all of your thoughts on Wayne Rooney. Everybody get in the comments below. Please share your favourite Wayne Rooney memories. It does look like this is the end for him at Manchester United, and he has been an incredible servant to our lovely football team. So thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day whenever you're watching this. Subscribe to Full Time Devils, and let's enjoy the next forward we buy from Everton, whoever that might be.